Welcome to The Explainer. We are jumping right into one of the most confusing, agonizing human experiences out there today, and we're doing it to help you finally heal. Everyone has been there, or at least knows someone who has. You open your heart, you show your absolute most vulnerable side, and suddenly you are met with a total, absolute void. Today we're decoding the dark psychology of narcissism, but we aren't just going to admire the problem. We are focusing heavily on your emotional recovery and how to set healthy boundaries. Get ready because we're breaking this down step by step so you can get your peace of mind back. So let's start with a question that, honestly, has probably kept you awake at night. Why don't your tears matter to them? When you share your pain with a partner, your brain is literally wired to expect a human echo, right? A compassionate response. But what happens when, instead of that warm echo, you crash into a wall of pure ice? That total lack of reaction can make you feel like you're losing your mind. I want to validate that pain for you right now. What you experienced is real. That indifference is not a flaw in how you communicate. As you'll see, it is something much, much deeper. Okay, let's dive into this. To get you out of this cycle, we've structured our journey into 5 steps. First, the scientific truth. Then, the empathy trap, followed by radical acceptance, setting healthy boundaries, and finally, your emotional healing. Section 1, the scientific truth, or as we like to call it, the structural defect. To really kick off your healing, we have to drop the guilt. Researcher Simon Baron-Cohen found something fascinating here. It's not that narcissists lack all forms of empathy. They actually have a ton of what's called cognitive empathy. That's the cold, calculating awareness. They know exactly what buttons to push to manipulate a situation. But they completely lack affective empathy. That's the actual emotional resonance, sharing your distress. It's literally like a one-way mirror in their brain. They can read your vulnerability perfectly, but the mirror blocks that pain from ever entering their own heart. The coldness you felt was never your fault. It was a broken receiver on their end. And the biology backs this up perfectly. Their amygdala is actually hypoactive, meaning they physically do not recognize emotional distress in others. Add to that reduced gray matter in the anterior insula, which basically breaks their ability to internally simulate your pain, and a severe deficit in oxytocin, the connection hormone. To put that into perspective, in a lab setting, a healthy person's heart rate spikes when they see someone suffering, but a narcissist's, their physiological markers stay completely flat. Biologically, their body just does not register your distress. No way around it. Moving on to Section 2, the empathy trap, the exhausted victim. Since we now know their hardware is completely damaged, let's talk about you, the empathetic person trying to make the relationship work. The philosopher David Hume hit the nail on the head when he said, "Reason alone can never produce any action or give rise to volition." Basically, logic isn't going to move an indifferent heart. This is the ultimate utility trap. Think about all those nights at 2 a.m., you're exhausted trying to logically explain your hurt, thinking, if I just say it differently, they'll finally get it. Hume completely validates your frustration here. Explaining feelings to a mind missing that emotional spark is just draining your energy for absolutely no return. It's like an emotional black hole. Imagine a bone-dry, petrified sponge sitting in an evaporated riverbed. That is exactly how they act. They eagerly soak up every single drop of your praise, your validation, your vital energy. But the second you need comfort, when that river needs to flow the other way, you find out the sponge is completely hollow. It's a totally one-sided dynamic that just leaves you drained and exhausted. Which brings us to the core of the empathy trap. Researcher Brené Brown warns highly sensitive people about this all the time. You absolutely cannot sacrifice your own boundaries to heal a wound that someone else refuses to even look at. The coldness of a narcissist, their armor that's driven by deep, unacknowledged shame, is not just a bad mood you can love away. It is an architectural feature of their personality. Trying to fix it will quite literally destroy you. Section 3, radical acceptance, shifting the focus. So what does this all mean? Well, this is where we shift gears to the solution. The absolutely crucial point here is radical acceptance. That means deeply recognizing that their coldness is a biological structural limitation. And when you accept that, truly accept it, something kind of magical happens. You stop taking it personally. You finally realize they aren't hurting you because you're unworthy of love. They're hurting you because they literally lack the equipment to connect in a healthy way. You are officially absolved of the blame. And the data on this is wild. When you're tangled up with someone lacking empathy, your cortisol levels skyrocket, causing systemic inflammation. Your body is basically screaming in a constant state of alarm. But once you establish a strict no-contact policy, those exact same stress levels experience a massive healthy drop. The numbers objectively prove that putting physical and emotional distance between you and them is hands down the fastest way to slash inflammation and physically reboot your nervous system. All right, Section 4, Setting Healthy Boundaries, Building the Solid Castle. Knowing that distance is quite literally your medicine, we need a game plan. Here are 4 highly actionable steps for your emotional healing. 1, accept their structural limit. 2, stop explaining your feelings to someone who's deaf to them. 3, enforce strict no contact or the absolute bare minimum if kids are involved. And 4, channel your inner Aristotle and practice fierce self-preservation. He taught that true virtue requires practical wisdom, meaning being compassionate doesn't mean being a martyr. True compassion absolutely has to include protecting yourself. To really lock in these boundaries, I want you to memorize this simple, powerful metaphor. Do not look for water in a dry well. Seriously, I urge you to stop spending your valuable emotional currency trying to buy validation from someone who completely lacks the psychological funds to pay you back. The well is dry, guys. Pick up your bucket, turn around, and go find a place where the water actually flows. Which leads us beautifully into Section 5, your emotional healing, protecting your inner world. From this exact moment on, the narcissist is completely irrelevant. It is entirely about your peace of mind now. I want you to imagine building a thick, unshakable stone fortress around your inner peace. When their indifference or manipulation tries to reach you, picture it like a cold, gray mountain wind. Let it howl. Let it blow against the walls. It's just going to bounce right off. Your job isn't to somehow stop the wind. Your job is just to keep the fire warm and burning inside your castle. And that brings us to an absolutely crucial final point. Keep your empathy warm, but keep it guarded. Look, after surviving an abusive relationship, it's so tempting to just become cold and cynical as a defense mechanism. But please don't do it. Your capacity to feel deeply, to connect with others, is absolutely not a weakness. It's your greatest human strength. You're just a lot wiser now, right? So share that incredible gift, but only with people who actually have the capacity to value it and return it. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to chew on over the next few days. How will you use your greatest strength, your empathy, now that it's finally protected? You have the science to drop the guilt, you have the boundaries to stay safe, and you know your empathy is a total superpower, not a flaw. You are safe now. It's your turn to heal, to shine, and to build relationships where your heart actually matters. Thanks for hanging out with us today, and I really hope this structured roadmap gives you exactly what you need to reclaim your life. Catch you next time.